Welcome along to the Cardiff City phone-in, and a really good panel tonight. Tony Rivers is with us, first time on the show for a while. Welcome back. Jamie Anderson making his debut, amazingly making his debut after all these years on the show. And Al Worth, my co-presenter, sidekick, head of whatever it is. Welcome back, Al, anyway. Jamie will come. We were going to have Dave Jones tonight, and not that Dave Jones, Dave Jones, the City fan that we all know. But unfortunately, Dave's not going to get back from Manchester in time. I'll come to you first, Jamie. So we'll have a chat later on about the Andersons, the family and all that stuff, and the travel that you do. Obviously, you're up at Villa for the game. Few surprise starters in the lineup, and also a slightly tweaked formation. What were honestly your thoughts when you first saw the lineup against Aston Villa, who put up pretty well their first team, really, didn't they?
I think they played poker quite well, didn't they, both managers? Because they were making I think they were going to make a massively rotated team, and it was all going to be, a field of youngsters, wasn't it? But it's good to see. I think, Dylan Lawler's getting a lot of praise, and quite rightly so. He's been quietly going about his business in the academy, and what's good is with Dylan is he suffered quite a bad injury, didn't he? And he's shown a lot of character to come back, which, let's be honest, we need centre halves now, don't we? So he's another option. But no, the whole night I think the fan covered himself in a lot of glory. We were rightly praised by ITV for the noise we made. And I think the players, deserve some credit as well, because at the end of the day, we said if we're going to go up there, put up a fight, and they did. So, yeah, good night all round. Obviously, we would have liked to have gotten in, but it's in his Aston Villa in it. So, yeah. When they got 400 grand a week strikers up front.
I know, yeah. I mean, the actual value of that squad against ours, I mean, the difference must have been absolutely ridiculous, mustn't it? Yeah.
Individual moments, isn't it? We have that one opportunity of the game with Salah, which if he gets a better contact on it, and then I think a couple of us said it. That's our chance. And then Asensio is, Asensio does what he's done all his career. He's not a Champions League winner for nothing, is he? He's no. But again, it took a little bit of brilliance to beat even Horvath. So credit to Horvath.
Yeah. And Al, of course, Horvath had a particularly good game, and when he was dropped and Jack came in, he had looked a little bit shaky at times, but in the cup matches he's played this season, including most notably against Villa, he's made some fantastic stops, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think for the players that hesitate to say they're in the shop window, but they're there to show what they can do, and you saw it with some of the youngsters as well. It was kind of a free hit for us, I think, and they could just go out and play without fear, and that's certainly in Dylan Lawler's case, crikey, talk about without fear, and he said it in his interview afterwards. For him to, it looked like he'd been playing alongside the first team, for seasons. It was great, a great opportunity, not just for the players to showcase themselves, but I think as well for the fans, and this. If this, that sort of beamed around the world, if there was any sort of rich Americans watching, they would say, "Well, there's a club with potential." For us to take fans up there on a Friday, and it shows what we're all about, doesn't it? And it restores in a strange season at times. For me, it restores a lot of faith, but also a lot of pride. We can be proud of ourselves, I think, coming Friday. Now we're going into Tuesday. Strange, a couple of weeks ago, rather, talking about Burnley. We were all sort of bricking it, saying, well, we're not going to get anything out of it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, thinking we're going to get something out of it. So it's been Riz said afterwards, it's given us momentum in the league, a great sort of fill up, really, isn't it? And a cup run, contrary to what I thought was going to happen, I think it's helped us, not hindered us, put it that way.
Yes, and Tony, you were up there as well, I think, when you on Friday, yeah?
I was, yeah. Yeah, like the boys are saying, I think we can be proud of the way we approached it. I said before the game, like Jamie says, there was, the cards were close to their chest, but for Emery to play that side showed us so much respect. I couldn't believe it. Especially, he's got a massive tie with Bruges now, only in a couple of days. And I was talking to a Villa fan, I know, and he said the team that played us was the side that beat Bayern Munich, virtually the side that beat Bayern Munich. So, that was good. I was hoping we wouldn't go too inexperienced, even though we got this big game on Tuesday. I was hoping, not as inexperienced as we went at Bramall Lane, but in the end, we had a nice mix. And as it's come out today, I read a report saying 30% now of the squad have come through the academy, which is great.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, brilliant, because we haven't had this before, and people mention how many Welsh players were on the pitch, and it's it bodes well, doesn't it? We've gone through a lot of bad times lately, but I think we're getting there slowly. But going back to Friday, it was nice to frustrate them. I watched some of the clips back and the recordings, and we made a couple of friends there. I think when Lazal saying the support was immense. It was a bit weird because when we played them in the League Cup years ago, we had the North. We were up North Upper, but they didn't give us the Doug Ellis. But this time we had both, and it was really strange. I can't remember. Cardiff fans being that far apart for a long while.
And there's a comment here from Martin Ryan, which maybe we'll words around because it's quite a good one, really. Going back on what you just said there, Tony, about the fact we're bringing through all these youngsters. So there's a good question there. And I'll start with you and go to the other guys on it. How do we maintain the development of our young players, given the persistent issue of relegation battles?
I think we just gotta keep improving, aren't we? Season on season, we can't afford to have another year like this next season or last season, really. But it's step by step. It is frustrating. We've seemed to be in quite a few relegation battles over the last few years, but hopefully we've made a couple of shrewd moves, and I think as Simon Willis mentioned earlier that there's a jigsaw starting to form.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
with Reza and his coaching staff, and when everybody's fit, we've on paper. I don't want to say it. I don't want to jinx it. On paper, we're too good to go down. Sorry, I did say it, but yeah, But
I was hoping no one was going to say that.
yeah. But I think we'll progress. Yeah, I think we'll progress definitely in the summer. The accounts didn't look too bad today as they usually do today. So I think we got scope there now for
12.5 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we got some scope there to spend a few quid in the summer, and we'll see how it goes. But going back to individual displays, Dylan Lawler, fantastic. But I remember Denham at Anfield and everybody's raving.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, and unfortunately it dipped. So I don't want we don't want the same effect again, do we?
Okay, so if I bring in Jamie on that same question.
I think that a lot of our youngsters now as well, they've got a program. You look at Gavin Chesterfield and what they're trying to do in the academy now. It's about developing them as, not just as players, but as well, how they deal with the adversity off the pitch and on the pitch. I think you just got to look at Cian Ashford. Cian Ashford, probably when he started coming back into the team, we saw an upwards trajectory in our form. And I think that just comes down to attitude and application. At the time we were losing games, Cian Ashford would come on and he would, he'd run the extra miles. He'd do the hard yards that maybe some of the experienced players weren't doing.
Yeah.
And I think when you see a youngster sort of doing what you should be doing as an experienced pro, you've got to almost think, well, it looks bad probably on them. So they have to live up to that expectation as well. But it's a good question because, again, like you said, it's either a sink or swim, isn't it? You know, if they get thrown in the deep end when they're not quite ready, they're not going to be right. But I do think we've got a good selection of players we can pick up, from there. You look at Joe Bagan, he went out to Belgium. Was it the second division in Belgium? Look at him now. Look how versatile he is. And if he puts on a few kilos and probably strengthens up, that's another great option we've got. I watched Joel Colwell down in Exeter the other day. He only played the last 20 minutes. Yeah. But when he came on, you could see what he's trying to do on a horrible pitch. But what he was trying to do was get that ball down. He was trying to play. So I think there is a pathway. I think that's the key thing nowadays is there's a pathway for these players. In years gone by, we've signed these 30-plus-year-old players, and there's no chance for these youngsters to come through. And like you mentioned there, the jigsaw coming together. If Omar Riza does stay, I know it's a kind of touching point with people. Hopefully, he can continue this pathway and development with Darren Pearce and other people, and then we can start. We can get more of our own as fans saying.
There was, by the way, before I go on to Al, there was a great picture of you outside the Exeter ground with Joel.
Yeah, he was spot on. To be fair, we knew, like we said, about a weekend of it, but it worked out cheaper daftly to go from Birmingham on a train down to Exeter, spend the day down there, and to be fair to Exeter, it's a lovely little setup.
Yeah,
the train station's
right next to ground in the middle of the street. Yeah,
but you know what? I can see why he's gone there because there's a great little fan base behind the goals, and it'll give him pressures that maybe he wouldn't get in the 21s, and he probably didn't get at Cheltenham. So he's had the highs of Cheltenham. Now he's got a different type of battle with Exeter. But no, like I said, there are positive signs for the youngsters, but it's when you put them in, I think is the key term. You don't want to just chuck them in because they're young.
No, and Joel, Al, is a case in point, really, because there were a lot of City fans when he went out on loan, because when he went to Cheltenham, he did so well. He scored a lot of goals, didn't he? And then we were all saying, no, let's bring him back. But club of his development,
I mean, following on what the boys are saying, really, I think some of these players come back, bigger, fitter, stronger, don't they? Like you'd mentioned about Denham at Liverpool, Eli King played that day. Well, since then, he's been... Crew, doesn't he? Morecambe, he's at Stevenage at the moment. I've got a bit of a family interest with Crew. I keep going on about it. All my family are up that way, so they'd seen him play at Crew again on a really, really bad pitch, terrible pitch. We're just not used to that anymore. And they're coming, and they're same as Joel Colwell. Eli King is just he was yards ahead of everyone else on the pitch. They were saying to me, and there is that temptation to say, well, hang on, he's done well at Crew, bring him back. Well, no, they've been patient with him, sent him out again to Morecambe. Played with Ross County. He was with Ross County in Scotland. They play men's football, right? So when they come back, you're hoping that if we do hold on to that kind of player, and if we do go into relegation battle, they won't be youngsters anymore. He's been going out for 4 seasons now. He's no longer a youngster. So I'd like to think someone's doing something right. Going back then to what Jamie was saying, it does seem to me now very much. Riza is part of a coaching team as opposed to him just being the manager. I think Bullock was a bit more pig-headed, and he was like, "Well, no, this is me. You're just coming with me." You can see, I've sat behind the dugout a couple of times now. Pearce is there, and Tom Ramsey is still. They're very, very active while the game's going on. And 2 or 3 heads are certainly better than one. Riza's very, he's inexperienced. Or we've been crying out. I think we just want some stability at the football club. And I'm hoping that we stay up and then just say, right, we've got a long-term plan, okay? And if you want to bring Gavin Chesterfield further into that, because what you said, Jamie, he talks an awful lot of sense. Rather than just parachuting some name manager in, and here we go again, start from scratch, like Bilic or well, for me, I just want them to just have stability, the consistency, and go from there.
Al, did you read today the report about the new recruitment manager? And
Watson, is it? No, the other lad. What's his name?
Patrick Du Bois, wasn't it?
That's right, Du Bois. Yeah.
He's been there for a while, isn't he? But I think they've changed his title, haven't they? Slightly. Yeah. But again,
it was really promising, Jim, wasn't it? And I think our 21s and 23s. I don't think we've seen so many with potential for many a year, have we? And like you said, we got boys out on loan now, League One, League Two. We got cracking results. You know, quite a lot, haven't we, this season? You know, with the 21s, and yeah, it bodes well. You know, for next season.
Well, the question on the screen there, Tony, kind of follows on quite nicely from what we're talking about on, looking towards next season. You know, obviously, you know, if we stay up, which hopefully we should now, I hope.
Hang on. We haven't said that, Steve.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm going down Tony's route now, and I don't want to be too overconfident, but anyway, I think we will. Shall I say? Yeah. So, and if we do that, and we get this great crop of youngsters coming through, because I watched in the 21s, you know, and they do play nice football. But then when I knew the lad Lawler was a good player, but I also knew he was incredibly young. You know, I didn't see him being near the first team for a while. So going to what Damien Bradshaw has said there, you know, about next season, what do you think, Tony, about that? You know, what do we kind of need to move towards the top half? You know.
I've been one of these conspiracy theorists online. There's a few of us about our injuries the last couple of years, and what the medical staff are up to. But there's been counter arguments to it, you know, which I respect, and saying, you know, there's nothing. It's just a massive coincidence, but it is, you know, something that. Hopefully they're addressing, which is a massive problem. You know, the disrespect people showed Aaron Ramsey, you know, through his injuries, he was unbelievable. And let's be honest, Friday night, the first half, he was vintage Ramsey when he was in that Pirlo position, and he didn't look out of place. He didn't look out of place against any of them top midfielders at Villa. So, you know, not just Aaron, but if we just keep everyone fit, we've got a decent squad there. It's as we proved a few times this season. You know, when everyone's fit, I don't think we've doing that 8-game unbeaten run at the turn of the year. It was one of the only times really where I think we kept the same team twice on the bounce, and that was that was a rarity. But long may it happen. And to go back to Damien's question, if we keep everyone fit, if people like Salek, who he's hit the ground running,
looking so good, isn't he?
They say 4 goals in 10 games, but that's not fair. It's 4 goals in 4 or 5 starts, really. The rest he's come off the bench, but he already looks. He's got the full package for a centre forward, and I think, you know, it'd be lovely for him to see him develop with us, because he's got more goals in him this season, definitely, and it obviously will only benefit us coming up to May. But next season, if we keep sorry, Steve, if we keep everyone fit, mid-table playoffs, you got to beat. That's the next step, isn't it?
Well, I can't move on to Jamie until I know the conspiracy theory. You know, I got to ask you what it is.
No, about the injuries, really. You know, it's not so much a conspiracy theory, but you know, have the medical staff been doing their jobs?
I thought it'd be something better than that, but never mind.
Sorry. It was nothing to do with JFK or.
What you said there is kind of spot on. Like where you look at what Damon's saying there, you know, it's a 46-game season where, you know, let's be honest, the TV have screwed everyone over, and they pardon my words there, but you know, the sheer amount of games there, you need an element of depth. Your experienced players who have an injury history are probably red flags, aren't they? If you're going to sign players for next year, you know, it seems to be that we're only spending money on like permanent transfers if they're under a certain age, which is great, because, you know, you don't want to be signing a 30-odd-year-old player for £2.5 million with no sell-on value. So from a club perspective, that's better. You know, we've seen Alex Robertson, he's flashed. So for £1 million, that's good. Mm. You know, he's going to probably, if he does go on the pastures new at some point, he'll get more than that. You know, the likes of Salek, who, to be honest with you, I don't think many of us knew who he was. And to come in now, I think half the Championship and the Premier League know exactly who he is, especially the Aston Villa centre-halves in the second half. I just think, like you said, you've got to have a mixture of you, and you've got to have, like you say there, Tony, the whole club needs to be together. The medical department, the manager, you all need to work off the same page, because in the day, you've got an obligation to manage these players. And if you're just playing them 46 games a season, they're going to knacker themselves out. They can't be as, fit and as to their optimum levels, can they, every single game? So, rotation is good. Youthful players coming through who are full of energy. Like you said, Kian Ashford, you've got Manny Barton and players like Tanzania Akua in the 21s now who are flying down the wings. So it's a bit of a mix, isn't it, really? Like you said, you don't want to just have a young team for the sake of having young teams and saying, oh, we've got, we're doing like Swansea did of decades ago. Like, oh, we're getting our own players in. But you don't want an aging team that have, got an injury record that's longer than, people's arms.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Al, any thoughts on any of that?
Well, yeah, echoing that, but going in the right direction, all being together. David Turnbull was in the stands, right? So out of his own pocket, I suppose he's gone there, only with his brother. I've seen the photos. But there's another one. He's contracted for a couple of years, and I've said to him before. Mate of mine's a Celtic fan who said, "My God, you've got a player on your hands there." But he had towards just before he got injured. He won't. I don't think we'll see him again this season. But it's another guy there. We forget. It seems like a massive squad when we go through it all.
We got quite a lot injured even now.
Yeah, Turnbull's going to come back in. I can't see Ryan Wintle playing for us again. Really, I don't know what the others think. But again, you've Turnbull. These are real young players. And it's bringing. We're going to be letting some people go in the summer, and I always get a bit romantic sometimes when we leave some players go, and I think we shouldn't. But it's cutthroat, isn't it? And we're bringing the average age of the squad has come down remarkably. I mean, notable exception, I suppose. Callum Robinson, is a great one to keep, but he's a bit older. But the others, very much so. An interesting comment just came in. It's gone off the screen now, Steve. Was someone saying like we need a leader on the pitch for next year?
Yeah.
And to introduce a new subject, I suppose. I'm one who's not keen on having a goalkeeper as captain. I like to have a centre half or a midfielder, and I think that's where we need to be. That's where we need to be looking at this year. I think Callum Chambers would have been a good choice for captain at the moment. Yeah. I don't know how much of an influence a goalkeeper can have. Some people say a goalkeeper can sort of see what's going on in front of him better than anyone else. But in terms of motivating the team, I think Callum Chambers has been a revelation. Yeah. And he's the sort of player that I'd give the armband to at the moment.
Just a quick one going around on that, because it's a nice question coming off the back of that. In the time you've been watching the City, Tony, what captains spring to mind for you?
Captains? Paul Ramsey.
Yeah.
There's
one other one in my mind.
Graham Kavanagh.
Yeah, the other two for me, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
Anyone else, Jamie?
No, I think for me, obviously, it would be someone like a Sean Morrison because again,
that's a good call as well. Yeah,
he changing. He came in at toxic times, didn't he, at the club? Yeah. And when we went to the evening was for Sol Bamba, he talked so well, and again, a captain doesn't always necessarily need to be a leader, but they always say, don't they? They're the ones who set the tone. A special thing for me the other day was it just seemed so right when you saw O'Dowda wearing the armband. Like for someone who's had a bit of he's had a bit of an up and down sort of time with Cardiff through his injuries and stuff like that. He hasn't necessarily been, I say, consistently, in the team, and he's worked himself massively around. Someone like that, like he is up and down that left-hand side non-stop. And I think, like you said, as long as that person wearing that armband sets the tone, the other 10 players are going to follow. And that's what I think you want from a captain.
Yeah.
Going back to Aaron Ramsey, I know he's not going to play any game, but you can have your team captain, you can have your club captain. But in that dressing room, let's be honest, when the players have got him starting the game or in that squad fit, then that's all you need really, for motivation. Like some of the comments about Ruben on Friday, it was a lot of it was based around him playing alongside Ramsey, and somebody who can bring the best out of Ruben when he's been so inconsistent, but to have something like that, that experience and that know-how around you, it must be massive for the young players.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I always feel the same when I was on the show, actually, But
shows your medals, Stephen. It shows your medals. Yeah, there you go.
Definitely.
Jamie, the question on the screen there, maybe again just briefly, we whiz around and there's got some great questions coming in and thoughts. Jeff Delacruz about Omar, Omar Riza, let him develop his own side. I mean, it's based on the fact that the other lad Tony talked about, Du Bois, it seems to be a key significant guy who comes into the club. But we've made some really good signings, and you'd like to think at least Omar approved them. What's your thoughts on that? I suppose the implication of that is that we stay up and we move on with Omar next season.
I think personally, and speaking to me, is I want continuity. I thought we had some sort of continuity with Errol Bullitt, and we saw how that panned out. But I think the difference here with Omar is, like you say, he's younger. He's probably more willing to learn. He didn't originally admit his mistakes, did he? Let's be honest. But I think he's now starting to learn. We saw, when things are going well, he's tactically changing things. We may not necessarily see it when we're emotionally involved in a game, but like Al mentioned there as well, when you sit behind the bench, you can see him and his coaches. Genuinely, they're changing things. I think I'd like to see how it goes. If we can use his England under 19s or whatever it is connections to get like the likes of Will Alves, like S players in next year, I think that'll only benefit us. And again, the only way he's going to prove himself is by having, I suppose, more games on a touchline in the Championship. And listen, so far, I suppose it's been up and down. But then, if he stays up, has he warranted it to probably stay longer? I personally think he probably has.
Yeah. It was an interesting point. I think it was one of Simon's interviews. He did a short podcast with Mark Hudson, and what alarmed me was Mark Hudson freely admitted, they said, "What do you think like at Ipswich?" And he said, "I've learned so much being at Ipswich, so much good experience." And then I'm thinking, crikey, you're managing our football club and you've gone to Ipswich, who to me don't seem like a big club. They've been in the Premier League for a tomato season, and he's saying, "I've learned so much at Ipswich." And then I'm thinking, whoa, hang on a second, you forget then that how new some of these managers are. And I think, to use the expression, stay humble. I think Riz should stay humble, draw upon experience of people around him. Ramsey, I've long advocated, I think should be on the coaching staff as soon as we get a chance. And you've mentioned Sean Morrison. These are the sort of players now that they understand the club as well, which I like that. They understand what it's all about. We used to say about when we used to play the Jacks, no one there really understood it. And so to have people like that who've played for the club in the recent history then come through to coach the players, it's like an ideal scenario for me, rather than getting a manager who knows nothing at all about the club or about our area. Morrison still lives in the area, doesn't he? And Ramsey, obviously. I know we say it's a big club, sleeping giant, but it is to us, and they need to understand it, really, I think.
Yeah. It was a good point you made earlier, Al, that Reza now, he's not just his own boss, he's got a team with him now, and since Richard Shaw got hired, obviously our losing streak came to a halt, and I think bar Friday night, I think, what was it? 2 games or 3 games in 14. We were unbeaten. We'd only lost 2 or 3 out of 14, which for where we are is decent. But as you were saying, it's good that there's definitely more of a collective, not just Reza. He's got Darren Pearce, he's got Richard Shaw, and they seem to be when they show the goals after the games on the touchline camera, and they seem to have a really good camaraderie, don't they?
Yeah,
which is great. I think one thing as well is he does seem very approachable. When we've waited outside my daughter or what have you, he's always speaking to fans. He's not like the likes of Steve Morrison who don't give 2 hoots about the club. There's an arrogance about him. He does seem to be quite approachable. And I do think, he's used the terms himself about playing up and learning how to sort of, manage up is the term he used, wasn't it? Is managing up, because let's be honest, managers in the past of our club have failed to deal with the sort of pressures of Vincent Tan's demands about how many shots you must be having and stuff. But at the minute, and touch wood here, what have you, it has been a bit let's say, at times a bit challenging, but he seems to, at the minute, be dealing with it and managing it. And again, that's another part of personal development he has to learn in the professional game. And I think, like I said, we're playing some good football, because when we do play good football, we've got a mix now. We have an outlet with Salah that can hold up and put himself around. But when we get that ball down, there's nothing better than seeing a Ruben Colwell link up with an Aaron Ramsey, and all of a sudden, defenders don't know where we're going, because again, we've got that youthful approach of a manager that wants to play some sort of football, as opposed to just being a direct dinosaur who scores from set pieces.
Yeah,
right. What I've seen with Reza, the last couple of months, he gets his fair amount of criticism online. He gets not so much in the ground. Reza's Barmy Army has kept that wasn't being sung, was it, until a month or two ago. But you look at his personal account online, and he's a broken man. He's going through so much, obviously grieving through the passing of his father. And I think he's just conducted himself so well with his professional side of the game.
Yeah.
That deserves a lot of credit. And a lot of people give him undue stick, where, he's come through a really tough period in his life. And, we're averaging, decent amount of points to pull us away at the moment. And if he does steer us clear, he probably deserves another chance, doesn't he, in the summer?
Of course, with Errol Bullock at 1 point from 7. Is that right, Al? I think.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, going back then to what we were saying with regards to, it popped up earlier, where are we going to be next year, promotion or mid-table? And I was like, well, Championship or League One, let's deal with that first. Do you know what I mean? Let's get that out of the way. It's interesting now. There's some to look, I'm fascinated by league tables, and you get fixated by them at times. But you look at the moment, Oxford at the moment in total free fall, in the same way that Coventry are going the other way. Oxford on 38 points at the moment, but they can't get a point. And I was talking to someone the other night, and they said, oh, no, they got 38 will be okay. They'll get a couple more wins. And I said, well, where are they going to get their wins from? Because at the moment, they're on this wild losing streak. So, Pompey have done okay to pull away, and then Luton beat Pompey. There's so much at the moment down there to sort of play for, but I'm going for Derby, Oxford, and one other at the moment.
I've been looking at Oxford for a few games, Al. They had the purple patch at the start when Rowett came in, but now, like you said, they can't buy a point at the moment, can they?
What I would say is just you Mark Harris my words, okay? How's that? Is that a little bit of a
very good? Is
that okay?
Well, I remember a lot of people online during the first month of the season when Harris, I think he scored 4 and 4, didn't he? And saying that it was ridiculous that we let him go. But I think I made a comment at the time, and other people did. Well, one swallow does not make a summer, and let's see how the season develops.
Well, and Oxford's goal difference is round about the same as ours, and we shot 7 at Leeds. So they're on the back of a few hide-ins. So let's
when we went there Boxing Day, it was crazy, because we were already talking about it as a relegation battle, a relegation decider.
Yes,
some people were saying if Cardiff lose at Oxford, we're gone. With 20 odd games left is ridiculous. But that's what it did feel like at the time, wasn't it? But thankfully, we've come out of that rut, and the
12 games to go, Tony. There's 12 games. They say a lot of football to be played. But all these teams going. I was talking to a Jack the other day, and they said, "Oh, we're okay. We're on 40 points." And I was like, "Well, you still got to get more than 40 points to stay up." There's a lot still to be won.
Our home form.
Sorry, boys. There needs to be one from that bottom 3 out of the pack that now starts, going. They got to go on a decent run, haven't they? But I don't know where it's going to come from.
They're all playing each other as well, aren't they, over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah,
effectively, tomorrow night's a game in hand for us. Tomorrow night's our game in hand, isn't it? Effectively, we could we win tomorrow night. Jack's lose at Preston, we're a point behind them, and it wasn't that long ago that It's
No, exactly. Were they 14 points behind and they were laughing at us one? You know, but
Here we go.
Well, we've
yeah,
got
and, like Steve, sorry, what you were saying just now. I know I had a little read on it last week. I think it was the amount of 6-pointers between the teams in the bottom.
Yeah, loads.
Yeah, there's so many, and yeah, we've got a few obviously, and luckily for us, well, fortunately for us, we've got quite a few of them at home. So and our home form, we haven't lost at home in the league this year, have we? So we'll hopefully we'll keep our record going tomorrow.
There's a comment which came in earlier, and I'll start with you, Tony, and go around. It's another really good point. It takes us on to the figures from today. I love the name Michael Whoops. It's just it's the best surname that features on the show, I think, really. So Michael Whoops says, seeing the accounts, that Tan has a lot of credit for keeping the club in business. It was another $250,000 up on last year, I think, and it's like 12.5 million. Vincent Tan is not everyone's cup of tea, is he, Tony Rivers? But
no, of course, that's been well documented. But it seems that he is still in there for the long term. I think we've had people approach him, and he obviously wants as much money as he can get for the club. So everybody's been priced out of it so far. But I read today that he hasn't taken any interest out on them loans, but Dalman has, so there's a bit of contention there, but it's
allegedly,
yeah. But as long as we, he's steering the ship, hopefully in the right direction. Some people will never forgive him, and I can understand that. Of course, that was ridiculous. That was but at the time, I just thought it would be some temporary fad. Not the three seasons was there that it ran for.
Yeah.
I thought.
My big thought that I'd never been his fan and taking criticism for it, but my big thought last Friday was we were on that world stage, and hopefully someone would come in and they'd say, right, I want to buy that football club because there's so much potential there, But
But Don Goodman mentioned something, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago when I think we were on one of the Sky games we were on about a month or so ago. And Don Goodman said this club has got so much potential. When people talk like that in studios, it does attract. I know, I don't want to name names, but I know somebody who invited American investors to the club, but Tan didn't want to reciprocate. But there are people out there, but we'll see.
It's amazing, Tony. If you go down into League Ones and Twos, how many foreign owners there are now, and quietly have come in. It's incredible. What's happened. So, like you say, there are people out there. We won't go on to world uncertainty to decide whether or not we're going to get bought. That's
we want any Yanks like
Swansea for next week. Yeah.
We don't want any Yanks like Swansea got because they're doing a great job for us, but not quite. Not quite.
I'll bring Jamie back in because but I mean the point that Tony made just now, just to mention the Boris Johnson thing, we're going to go global with stuff about the quaffing champagne in Downing Street during a worldwide health crisis, and then the line was anyone can make mistakes, and maybe there's an analogy there to Vincent Tan. But your thoughts, Jamie, on Vincent Tan? I guess you've met him over the years, probably, have you?
Yeah, I think he lives up to this profile, isn't he? From the days where he sat on his yacht with Jim White. He loves to be the center of attention. He's not bothered by bad publicity or anything. He doesn't care. I think he mentioned that a couple of years ago. You're lucky to have me as an owner, didn't he? And to an extent, we are. There's a lot of football clubs who are worse off than us. I don't think he's probably missed any payments or anything like that from a business perspective to keep us afloat. But I do think that the whole Red situation scarred a lot of people, and we've probably seen that with our fan base. And again, you can't forget or forgive that. You can't, because that hurts a lot of people. That took a lot of people's soul. But again, I think the way I'm looking at it at the minute is he's the money man, but there's advisors And is he being advised the right things? Like you mentioned there in the accounts, if he's not taking any interest out, but someone else is, what is possibly that person's? Do you know what I mean? Is if why is one taking interest but not the other? Because that doesn't seem right to me. If the own, but again, I'm no money man, but we haven't had the lights turned off at the stadium yet. I understand fans' frustrations, especially when things on the pitch aren't going well. And I don't like it when you've heard previous players telling the stories of he's telling us to shoot from 50 yards, or he's telling us to go into the secret rooms at the Cardiff City Stadium to do all these pre-match rituals. But maybe that's just the Jekyll and Hyde person he is. And it doesn't help, I suppose, that he lives thousands of miles away and doesn't turn up to games.
No. There's a certain amount of cultural ignorance, I suppose, which is understandable. I guess.
I actually thought he was going to make an appearance for the Villa game. I did, like TV. I just thought that was his audience, wasn't it? Really, and he knows the cameras would have been on him, and I was really surprised actually.
Dare I say it? You've only got to look at someone in the Premier League, in Man United, who are making all these cutbacks and disgusting decisions of a humane level.
Yes,
that the grass ain't always greener on the other side, and I know that'll probably divide opinion, but I stand by what I said. What he did when he turned us red was unacceptable. And I haven't been going as many as, with some of the Valley fans and stuff like that who have been there through all the hard times. And I'll admit that. However, I haven't heard of any job losses. I haven't heard of staff members not being given, stuff like certain clubs have, like the Glazers and other owners. So sometimes it's, what's that saying? Better the devil that you know. And maybe it is for now. But hey, I think we've got this Salah case as well. A part of me thinks that he's waiting to get as much as that back as he can, and then hopefully the price will go down and then he'll entertain offers.
Well, I think there was some suggestion, wasn't there, in the figures? I think that there was some sort of extraordinary income which came from source, which may have been related. I'll start with you on this one. And by the way, it was a great compliment just now saying how great the panel is tonight. So that's nice. So I'll go to well. Does the panel think we need a set piece coach, because our set pieces have not been so great recently, I guess?
That's an interesting one. The club might say that they have got a set piece coach. Certainly we've got two. Well, defending. We've got two centre halves on the coaching staff, haven't we? So in Sean and Pearce. No coincidence, possibly, that we seem to be doing better since Shaw's come in. It's strange, isn't it? Like Tony was saying, there are the doom mongers. When Shaw came in, everyone was like, "Oh, he's been out of football for so long. What on earth are we doing getting him in?" He's just come in and just, as no fanfare, just got on with it. Set piece at the other end. It's quite surprising because we used to rely so much upon set pieces, didn't we? And it wasn't until Guta scored against the Jacks that we scored from a corner. I don't think this season. I don't know. I'd imagine that the club would say they have got a set-piece coach.
I think when you look at defensive set pieces, I'll watch it. Gavin Ward, if you watch Gavin Ward on the sideline, every throw-in or defensive sort of set piece that we do, he's up. So like you said, without an official title, is he taking that upon himself to do that? I know we don't always see it, and it's not always advocated, but if you watch him, like tomorrow night, imagine Burnley can have loads of free kicks. He's the first one stood up there, and he's barking at the fourth official, and he's shouting at all the players about the line, etc. So maybe that it is, but like you said, our previous, when we've had the likes of Gunnarsson and set piece specialists over the years, we haven't been as as exploitive with that this year. And again, there's nothing better than scoring from a corner.
Yeah. Sorry, going back to Gutas's goal against Swansea, it was the perfect set piece because it was whipped in at pace. There was top spin on it, a nightmare for anyone to defend. But since then, like for Pompey, for example, we went to Portsmouth. We had about four free kicks in really promising positions. 2 from Ruben, I think 2 from El Ghazi. But they were just floated into the box, right? With no top spin on it, like back spin and defend it. You got a couple of experienced defenders who that's milk, bread and butter for them. You know what I mean? to get that standard of crossing, with Alex Robson possibly the best at the club at the moment. So when you've got something like him, it's not so much needing a set piece coach. It's it's just getting in the mix, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be my coaching. Yeah, but
come on. None of this floating. Wait. It waits about 5 minutes for the ball to drop. Just get it in there.
I was going to talk about a little bit then before we go on to other stuff. We really should mention this. I'll start with you, Tony, with tributes to Wits. From at Villa, obviously, kind of a bit of a special match, and made me think maybe in the future there would be maybe that's the kind of club we could, as a testimonial or something like that. It might be quite nice to unite those fans. Quite a nice touch, Tony. Do you think?
Yeah, Villa. It was good what they did on Friday. Yeah, it was excellent. They prepared the video, didn't they? With some of the ex-players who played alongside him at Villa in the under-21s and in the first team. And then they brought the flag out then on the north stand. That was good, and it was a nice touch for both clubs and the family, no doubt. But yeah, go like you said. Yeah, it'd be nice if something can be arranged with Villa in the future.
Yeah, was that your feeling, Jamie? It was like a certain kind of because it sort of brings fans together. I'm not saying we're going to be best buddies, like so. Sure, there'd be circumstances when we wouldn't be, but it's quite nice. I think when something like that is much bigger than football, isn't it?
Yeah, he's still got his Peter Whittingham foundation that I think his family run as well. So proceeds to that, were good. It is hard, isn't it? Because I know we as fans, and I've seen it on social media, that we'd love to name a stand or have a statue, etc. And I think that was in one of the articles.
Yeah.
But obviously, with anything like that, you've kind of got to respect the family, haven't you? And grief and grieving takes time. So again, that was very poignant. I think that was really, really nice, like you said, that it touched both sets of fans, didn't it? And then again, he is a legend. You don't that term gets thrown around, isn't it? Oh, this person's a legend. But I've yet in my time watching following the club to see someone with a left foot that was just produced individual moments of brilliance like his. So yeah, who knows, mate? We had that trophy, didn't we? Because we're 1-0 up in the Peter Whittingham trophy. Let's say that.
Yeah. I used to have a season ticket in between the Canton and the Ninian stand years ago when we first moved to the new ground, and there's an elderly gent sat next to me. I think he was in his 70s, and one comment will always stick with me. He said, "See, he got an effing wand for a left foot," and that stuck with me. Then he's got an effing wand for a left foot, which he did.
Yeah, it's funny with Wits, isn't it? I mean, he came from Villa. He could clearly Al have played at a higher level, yeah. But he had that kind of Wits temperament about him. He was kind of happy enough, He was just
We got on with it, We've said it before, we've all got our Wits memory, haven't we? The things that we remember on the pitch. It was the Leicester playoff, and that sound when that ball dinked into the post. And it was just silence, and then you hear the dink, and then, oh my God, it's gone in. Yeah. Off the pitch, one of the City Player of the Year years ago. Remember all the young players? They couldn't wait to get into town and get away from us all because they just wanted to go on the lash. And he was happy to sit at our table and just carried on drinking with us. Didn't want to go into town with what he said was all the youngsters, and he's hardly old himself, I'm not going off with those youngsters. He said, "I'll stay with you lot," and we were like, "Well, yeah," but it was just fantastic. It was absolutely, yeah. It's almost sometimes in disbelief that he's not actually here. It's a strange similar with Sol Bamba. It's like
absolutely those two. Yeah.
Did that actually happen?
Of course, it was so many memories, but I think mine, my indeed memory was Middlesbrough away in the FA Cup.
Cup final.
What a goal that was!
Yeah, incredible goal. And which then we went 2-0 up, and half time was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had as a Cardiff fan, because nobody gave us a chance. We didn't give ourselves a chance, but that was all part down to Whittingham, and we had a crack inside that David Jones era. It's just at the couple of vital stages we just fell off course, but looking back, in retrospect, we had a decent team then.
Yeah, and we did play really nice football.
Yeah.
So for the massive game, obviously tomorrow, Jamie. Obviously we got the win over Hull. That was another one. People said we lose Aberdeen, So we did that. I'm looking more solid, like Tony said, at home over the last few games, which is great because that wasn't the case, before Christmas kind of thing. So I suppose there's some players who weren't involved on Friday will come back in. Hopefully, a couple of coming back from injury as well. But Salak starts for you. Does he tomorrow?
I think he has to. I can't see a way that we play possession football and beat Burnley. I think we can go a bit more direct, especially with Horvath in goals with his long kick, get us up the pitch and start playing off him. Wouldn't mind seeing him lay out Connor Roberts, if I'm honest.
I think he might be on the bench, and the ref might see that.
Yeah, again, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because that whole win was a massive relief going into the Friday game. We didn't have to worry so much about the Saturday games because we got that 6-point buffer. This is a game in hand, and maybe I'm being presumptive here, but it seems like the pressure's on Burnley because of how tight it is at the top of the league for them to come down here and win. And again, maybe that plays into our hands. They're going to have to probably be more open and expansive. Who knows? But definitely, I'd say he's probably the first name on the team sheet to me. Is Salak, one of those that gets us at the pitch, he can get us a free kick, and and hopefully, just like I said, moment of brilliance. He's in and around the box all the time. Who knows?
Yeah.
89th minute goal in front of the Canton stand. Sign me up for it.
And Ali, even against Villa, he was in the right place at the right time again. He got that shot on target. He's there, isn't he? He's there or thereabouts, isn't he?
We keep saying it's a long time since we've had someone doing what he's doing. We've been crying out for it, haven't we? I don't want to speak too soon. And I feel like every time he scores, I think, that'll be it now. We won't score for another 20 games. And then all of a sudden he scores again, But what a week, we were playing third and then we're playing fourth on Saturday. I mean, what a week. Yeah. It's just massive games. Could. I know it's a game in hand, and I said about being a free hit. For we know, we could get dragged back in. I mean, I take comfort in the fact Sunderland on Saturday, they dropped points to Plymouth at home, they dropped points to Watford at home, they lost to Hull at home, so they're not insurmountable, right? We can go there. I don't know how they're still fourth because obviously teams taking points off one another. Burnley tomorrow is just going to be a hell of a test. All I would say is, as a club and as supporters, we seem to be in that much of a better place than we were when we went up there first start of the season, because that was horrific. They could have had 10 that day. So I've got some optimism, I got to say.
What's your thoughts, Tony? Is there any way we can we manage to get Robbo and Salak in the same starting lineup? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford to drop Robinson really, but yeah, Salak, Robinson as a 3, he's played in that many times, haven't he? And they can rotate, can't they? Maybe Isaac deserves a start tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know how close we are to Will Alves coming back, but it'll be interesting to see. But Burnley, we can forget about them getting stuffed up Preston because he made 10 changes, didn't he? Before that, they haven't conceded a goal all year in the league, which is ridiculous. But last week I'd done like a little predictor. I had a 5-minute doodle on the phone, and I didn't have I had us 4 points last week. 1 at Plymouth, 3 at Hull, which came off. I didn't have us to get any points this week.
Tone, put a few quid on,
Yeah, well, I didn't have us down for any points this week, but like Al, I'm in the camp that it's another free hit tomorrow, really, because it's our game in hand. Like we got that 6-point buffer. Have we still got a 6-point buffer? I think
5 now. I think it isn't.
5 with Luton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as long as we can't set up like we did against Hull because Burnley would murder us. But like Jamie said, if we can go a little bit more direct tomorrow, get Salah to do what he's been doing, with his hold-up play, bringing the runners into it. I think we can go. I think we can get behind Burnley, and it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to be that first club this year to score against them.
Exactly.
In the league.
So on the point that Tony's making there, Jamie, I looked at it. There's 1,090 minutes since they scored. 1,090 minutes, right? So 12 games in 10 minutes. So they had a change side. They got battered 3-0, but they'll say it's a cup match, whatever. But I wonder, if we somehow or other were to get the first goal today, you never know. They might be, and the impact of being the first side to score against them in 12 matches. It's quite a psychological thing.
You've got to stay in the fight, haven't you? Like you said, is you kind of break the game up into phases, and again, you can't allow them to come here and have the comfort of just passing the ball around, like someone just said there. You've got to give them an element of pressure, because if you allow them just to pass the ball around, their centre halves will be on the halfway line. They'll be driving into all these areas, and we'll be stretched, and then your tired legs, etc. But like you said, it's. There's no harm in going direct. There's no harm in Salah, letting the centre half know that he's there. Again, I don't think referees are particularly taken well to him. Bless him. He's learning the league, and yet he's like Kiefer Moore, isn't he, for Wales? He gets a yellow card for just jumping. Yet he gets kicked out, the hell out of off the ball, and the referees failed to help him. But under the lights of Cardiff City Stadium, it'll probably be bloody freezing cold. But hopefully, we'll have another moment where. The Canton end will be bouncing, the stadium gets bouncing, and Scotty Parker has a bit of mud on his face when he leaves the stadium.
Be nice to be there, wouldn't it? So I'll just looking at the table then quickly while Jamie was talking. And they're fantastic defensively. They set up that way, Burnley, but I think I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying they're actually the lowest scorers in the top 6, and they're running out of games if they're going to make. They're going to make the automatics, so it is a big game for them.
Yeah, I mean, in the top 8, they're the one with the game in hand. So, right. like Jamie said, right, they have to win to keep up with Sheffield United. 3 points would put them 2 points. Would put them 2 points behind Sheffield United. They got a much better goal difference. So it's the pressure is definitely on them tomorrow. Because nothing else than going back to the Premier League is going to be anything for them. They've got to do it. So perhaps we can turn that around. Someone mentioned earlier, if we've got Ashford or Alves or Tanner or all three running at Connor Roberts, I'd love to see Connor Roberts play tomorrow, and I'd love to just give him hell basically, because his old legs won't keep up with them. So, but again, you don't know if he's going to be playing. But I'm sure we'll leave it to the expertise of our coaching and staff, who we were saying about earlier, that they will have identified some chinks. I don't know where you can get chinks from a team that basically hasn't conceded a goal all season, though. Where'd you go with that?
We're right at the end of the show, right? So we'll just whiz around. I'll start with you, Al. So predictions for Burnley and then Sunderland.
I think tomorrow night will be a goalless draw.
Okay.
And I think we'll win 1-0 at Sunderland.
Okay. So 2 clean sheets.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Tony, keep the faith, Steve. Sorry.
No, yeah, great.
Yeah, as Al said, Steve, I wouldn't be surprised with a 0 tomorrow, but I'll go for a 1-1. I've had a look at the betting markets, and Burnley are just under even money, which, like, when we went to Leeds, I think they were 10-1 on. So is the experts ain't as confident about Burnley coming down here as they would have been. So I hope we have a famous night down there, and. To turn them over and finally show that we got a little bit of potential. Yeah,
Jamie.
Anything. I think even if we get 2 to 4 points this week is brilliant. Is fantastic. Our recent record away at Sunderland, especially, has been brilliant because we've managed to keep their crowd quiet and frustrate them, which I think, like you said earlier on, Al and Tony, that their fans do get very frustrated very quickly.
Yeah.
And again, we're probably not expected anything. So you could argue that the pressure, like you said, is not on us because we're not getting anything. We're down the bottom there at the top. And again, tomorrow, I'd probably take a draw. I think Tuesday night under the lights, just don't give Burnley too much respect. And just get at them. You know, what have we got to lose?
And then we got Luton the following Tuesday. It's huge, isn't it? I mean, you know, there we go. It's exciting times there. These back-to-back Tuesday nights, I love them. I think it's affected the attendances, to be honest with you, some of these kickoffs with Sky and whatever. But when we're doing okay, I love a Tuesday night. It's great.
Brilliant.
Well,
sorry, Steve, I didn't mention Sunderland.
Sorry, Tom.
We'll get something this week, but it's hard to predict where. But if we get a point tomorrow, I think we'll go up there and win.
Okay, that's two of you saying that, so let's hope that's the case. Well, great show tonight. I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, and see you all soon. Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you, Steve.